everyone's mind these days.
They sure are, Tina. And our first guest today is here to talk about mortgages. Deep Das is a mortgage broker with Mortgage Alliance and a preferred lender for Souqh. Deep, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Asif, and thank you, Tina, for inviting me today on your radio show. And greetings to all the listeners.
Now, Deep, we know that interest rates have already went up a little bit, and rumor has it that they could go up another 5 times within the next year. What's your advice to mortgage holders right now?
Well, that's true, that we are looking at some rate hikes in the coming time. As we've seen in the past week, there was one hike, and then we are expecting one more on April the 13th. Let's see what happens on that time. But yes, there will be an increase. Most important thing that I always spoken and guided my clients is that be within your budget. Don't go beyond your means. So if you can afford something, try to be within the limit so that even if the rate hike, you are comfortable paying your mortgage in the coming time.
And Deep, you mentioned that you spent the day yesterday online and on the phone with so many of your clients. What are they asking you, and what advice are you providing them?
See, the biggest thing, rate hikes are there. It'll affect some, and it will not affect few, because what happens is if people are within their budget and rate hike keeps happening, that's what I keep telling them. That most important is that don't panic. When a mortgage is approved, home buyers are qualifying at an interest rate of 5.25%, which is much higher than the current prevailing rates. So already clients are approved at a higher rate, which means that they can afford. However, it is important that we keep that rise in interest rate in mind, and always make sure that we are within our budget, so that even if the rate keeps going even 5 times this year, we are still able to afford the mortgage.
And Deep, I was going to add, that's a great point, because this is the reason the government had introduced the stress test a while back. And it was for exactly situations such as this, where the rate does climb, but you have peace of mind that you're qualified for a lot more. Now, what does a rate hike of a quarter point or so, what does that mean to someone that may have a $700,000 mortgage? How much more would that be per month?
Absolutely. Like I'll give an example. If suppose somebody on an average, these days you have, like, say, 600,000 mortgage. So somebody who's looking for a mortgage of 600,000 with 10% down payment over 25 years of amortization, one can expect an increase of $75 per month compared to what the same 600,000 with 10% down payment, 25 years amortization client was paying 2 weeks back. Because with a 0.25% increase, you're looking at $75 per month increase on your payment for a 600,000 mortgage.
So would you say that now is the time to lock in a fixed rate?
Well, it all depends. I always tell my clients, what's your goal? What's your future plan? Like if somebody who's looking at, having a refinance or getting some equity out in a couple of years' time, or they have plans and goals, it is very important that we consider variable at this point in time, because what happens is when you're in variable, you can break this mortgage anytime with only 3 months interest penalty. When you are logged in a fixed, you cannot break the mortgage at any time. And if you do break, you pay interest differential penalty, which is much more higher than the variable penalty. So it is important that clients understand and have this conversation where, we understand what's their plan for the coming years.
And what is your advice to home buyers, Deep? Is it to get out there and get qualified once again if they've been qualified over the last couple of months, or does their previous qualifications still allow them to go out and purchase? Are you seeing a lot of people panicking, and when they're looking at buying their first home or their new home?
Absolutely. If they're qualified in the past, anyways, they're qualified at the rate of 5.25%. So which definitely, if they're qualified and if they're approved for a certain amount, they're qualified. However, that time client says, if they want to know how much will be the monthly payment, and a mortgage broker or a bank employee has offered him, say, 1.50% interest on a variable term, then the monthly amount will be totally different than if the rate has gone to, say, 1.90 today. So it is important that, they go back and check once again, look at their qualification and see if really they can afford that payment going up even by 0.25% or 0.5%, something like that.
And so, on average, do you think that most homeowners can manage these changes in interest rates?
Absolutely. Yeah, as I always mention, if they are within their budget and they know what they can afford, even the smaller changes they can manage. But somebody who has really gone beyond their means and bought a property which is like definitely hard to manage in the coming years, it'll be hard for that individual or family to manage. So it is that's the reason it is important that a mortgage professional speaks and talks about all these changes or aspects of getting into homeownership, because it's important that we like a property, we get into a property, but it is also important that we have peaceful sleep every day. So that's important.
Deep, what's the mood been with your clients? Is there a mad scramble to get into a property before the next hike? Or are there people just sitting back and saying these hikes may alter the landscape and reduce pricing, and so they're going to wait? What are you hearing from your clients?
Well, as of now, I'm hearing more and more people coming to me for refinance or second mortgages. So what they're trying to do is their current properties, they're trying to refinance, get some equity out, and getting ready for summer or before the rate hike. They want to park their funds into some kind of reconstructions or even a resale property. So yeah, there are a lot of people, but at the same time, there are many people who are hang tight and they're saying, what, interest rates are going up. Let's see what happens. We'll wait for another one and see how it goes, and then we will decide. So there is a mix, but I would say the majority, 70% of my clients are leaning towards refinance and getting some equity out and putting their money into the market.
And Deep, Asif mentioned that the Bank of Canada could raise rates 5 more times in this next year. What's your advice then to our listeners right now who are worried about those increased rates?
Well, it all depends. 5 times, we have no control on that. Bank of Canada will increase that, and that's why it is important that we manage our funds in such a way and do our mortgages in such a way and have this holistic conversation with your mortgage professional. That if there is a rate hike and if their payment goes from $75 to even $300 over a period of 1 year, can I afford that? Can I manage that? Can I still do my other basics? So it's very important that we have this conversation and clients understand that. So my advice to every new home buyer would be that please have this conversation, because if my payment goes up even by $300, am I okay? Can I manage that? And they will be fine.
And Deep, before we let you go, what is your advice to sellers? Are they concerned as well? Have you heard from any potential sellers about the fallout from the interest rate hikes?
Well, for sellers, it's all about people are happy selling their properties at a very high rate today. However, the same seller, if he's going and buying another property and pre-qualifying themselves at a higher interest rate, yes, it is a challenge. So if somebody who has a great equity in their property, they're able to manage. But those who don't, it is a challenge. So for them as well, it is important that we understand that we do the calculation, we do the pre-qualification in advance before they plan to sell or put their property in the market to sell.
One more question before we go Deep. Have you heard anything about appraisals? Have you seen any appraisals come in under value over the last week or so?
Yes, I did. I did come across a few appraisals where property was purchased at 1.4. The appraisal came at 1.36 or something around that. So it was a challenge for the clients, where the vendor were asking, and then prices were hiked up. So yes, there were some challenges, and that's another thing that potential buyers need to know and have those conversations. That if situations like this happen, have some extra down payment ready for you so that you can cover up. Otherwise, it'll be a problem for closing.
Interesting times for sure, Deep. If people want to connect with you or ask any more questions about the interest rate hikes, how do they connect with you?
Well, the best way to connect with me is through our amazing platform of Souqh, where they can go and look for me and register themselves. The registration is absolutely free of charge on Souqh, and there's some great offers they're offering right now, and they can connect through that, or they can reach out to me through my website, which is www.dasmortgagefinance.com, or they can email me at info@dasmortgagefinance.com. I'm happy to answer any questions that my listeners have. And